Rising climate change awareness in Germany post-strikes and civil disobedience, protests spark surge in climate change concerns. In an era marked by growing public awareness of the climate crisis, a new study has unveiled a remarkable finding. Climate protests in Germany have led to a significant spike in concerns about the consequences of global warming. The research, conducted by a team of social scientists, leverages data from the German Socioeconomic Panel, SOEP, a comprehensive longitudinal survey. By exploiting the quasi-random timing of survey interviews relative to the timing of climate protests, the researchers were able to estimate the causal effects of these demonstrations on climate change concerns. The results are striking. The study found that following climate protests, the probability that a respondent is concerned about the consequences of climate change increases by an average of 1.2 percentage points. This effect is not merely a temporary blip, as the increase in concerns remains statistically significant for up to 42 days after a protest. Intriguingly, the researchers discovered that the impact of protests is more pronounced when concern levels before the demonstrations are lower. This suggests that climate protests can be particularly effective in reaching those previously unconcerned about the issue, rather than merely preaching to the converted. The study also examined the differing tactics employed by various climate movements, comparing the effects of demonstrative protests, such as the youth-led Fridays for Future, FFF, marches, with confrontational acts of civil disobedience, like the blockades organized by the Ende Gelände, e.g., and Extinction Rebellion, XR, groups. Remarkably, the researchers found no statistically significant differences in the ability of these distinct approaches to boost climate change concerns. Our results suggest that climate protests do not merely preach to the converted but also convince previously unconcerned individuals, explained the lead author. Regardless of whether the protests involved peaceful marches or acts of civil disobedience, they have been an effective means to remind society of the consequences of climate change. The findings hold true across various demographic groups, including age, gender, income, education, political orientation, and level of interest in politics. The researchers found no evidence that any subpopulation experienced a decrease in climate change concerns following the protests. These insights add to the growing body of literature on the role of social movements in shaping public attitudes and policy agendas. As the world grapples with the urgency of the climate crisis, the study underscores the potential for strategic protest tactics to elevate public awareness and concern, a crucial step in driving meaningful action. Our findings suggest that climate movements can play a vital role in raising public attention to the consequences of climate change, the researchers concluded. As the crisis intensifies, this study provides important evidence that such demonstrations can be an effective tool in mobilizing broader societal engagement with this existential challenge. Source: www.nature.com. Unveiling plasma tau as a promising biomarker for Alzheimer's disease neurodegeneration. Unlocking the secrets of Alzheimer's, blood-based biomarkers reveal clues to disease progression. In a groundbreaking study, a team of international researchers has uncovered a promising new biomarker for Alzheimer's disease, AD, brain-derived tau, BD-tau, in the blood. This discovery could revolutionize the way we diagnose, monitor, and potentially treat this devastating neurodegenerative disorder. The study, conducted across 4 independent cohorts, reveals that plasma, serum BD-tau levels increase in accordance with the presence of amyloid beta, A-beta, pathology and neurodegeneration in the brain. Importantly, the researchers found that individuals with both abnormal A-beta and neurodegeneration, as determined by cerebrospinal fluid biomarkers, exhibited the fastest cognitive decline and brain atrophy rates, regardless of their baseline cognitive status. Notably, the researchers were able to establish a blood-based biomarker classification system by combining plasma p-tau, a marker of A-beta pathology, and BD-tau, a marker of neurodegeneration. This approach allowed them to identify individuals at the highest risk of short-term cognitive decline and brain atrophy, a critical finding in the era of emerging anti-A-beta therapies. Unlike other blood-based markers, such as total tau and neurofilament light chain, BD-tau showed minimal associations with age, kidney function, and other comorbidities, risk factors, including self-identified race, ethnicity. This suggests that BD-tau may be a more specific and reliable indicator of Alzheimer's-related neurodegeneration. Our findings demonstrate that blood-based BD-tau is a biomarker for identifying a beta-positive individuals at risk of short-term cognitive decline and atrophy, explained the study's senior author. This has important implications for clinical trials and the implementation of anti-A beta therapies, as it allows us to prioritize high-risk individuals for immediate treatment. The researchers also found that the association between BD-tau and a beta pathology, neurodegeneration, was more pronounced in the later stages of the Alzheimer's continuum, suggesting that blood-brain barrier dysfunction may contribute to elevated blood BD-tau levels in more advanced cases. This groundbreaking study not only advances our understanding of Alzheimer's disease but also provides a crucial tool for identifying individuals most likely to benefit from emerging disease-modifying therapies. As we enter a new era of Alzheimer's treatment, these findings could have a profound impact on the way we manage and care for patients with this devastating condition. Source: www.nature.com. Extracting critical details from Chinese texts on typhoon disasters. Disaster Detectives: How Textual Big Data Illuminates the Ebb and Flow of Typhoons. As the world grapples with the escalating threat of natural disasters, a team of intrepid researchers has uncovered a groundbreaking method to extract vital information from the vast ocean of textual data. Their sights are set on unraveling the complex dynamics of one of the most destructive natural phenomena, typhoons. In the face of climate change, typhoons have become increasingly frequent and severe, wreaking havoc on ecosystems, infrastructure, and human lives across Eastern and Southeastern Asia. Traditional disaster monitoring methods have struggled to keep pace with this evolving threat, prompting the researchers to seek new solutions. Enter the Typhoon Disaster State Information Extraction (TDSIE) method, a revolutionary approach that leverages the power of big data and natural language processing to paint a vivid picture of typhoon disasters. By meticulously extracting and integrating information from a multitude of online news sources, the researchers have developed a comprehensive understanding of the spatio-temporal patterns, evolutionary characteristics, and activity modes of these natural calamities. At the heart of TDSIE lies the concept of states, highly generalized representations of various features of typhoon disasters under specific spatio-temporal conditions. By breaking down the complex process of a typhoon's life cycle into a sequence of states, the researchers have uncovered a treasure trove of insights. Through the application of TDSIE to the case of Typhoon Lakima in 2019, the researchers have illuminated the intricate dance of these natural phenomena. They've tracked the expansion and contraction of Lakima's impact range, revealing an uneven distribution of wind force within the typhoon's wind circle. By zooming in on individual cities, they've observed stark differences in the duration and intensity of the typhoon's influence, offering a granular understanding of its evolutionary trajectory. The implications of this work extend far beyond academic curiosity. The ability to extract and analyze disaster state information from textual big data holds immense promise for enhancing disaster management strategies. From early warning systems to real-time monitoring and post-disaster assessments, TDSIE provides a powerful tool for decision-makers to navigate the unpredictable waters of typhoon disasters. As the researchers continue to refine and expand their methods, the future holds boundless possibilities. By harnessing the wealth of information hidden within textual big data, they are poised to unlock the secrets of typhoon dynamics, ultimately empowering communities to better prepare for and mitigate the devastating impacts of these natural forces. In a world increasingly shaped by the capricious whims of climate change, the work of these disaster detectives stands as a beacon of hope, illuminating the path towards a more resilient and informed approach to disaster management. Source: www.nature.com. Can the Gates Foundation's embrace of preprints boost open access? Unveiling a bold new chapter in open access, the Gates Foundation's preprint-centric policy shake-up. In a move that could significantly reshape the landscape of scientific publishing, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has announced a groundbreaking policy shift that will redefine how its grant recipients share their research. Starting in 2025, the foundation will require its funded researchers to make their work publicly available as preprints, bypassing the traditional journal publication process. This bold decision, which also includes the discontinuation of support for article processing charges, APCs, aims to revolutionize the way scientific knowledge is disseminated. Preprints, which are manuscripts shared before peer review and journal acceptance, have long been touted as a means to accelerate the exchange of ideas and foster greater transparency. By mandating their use, the Gates Foundation is placing a renewed emphasis on the immediate accessibility of research findings. Our decision is driven by our goals of immediate access to research, global reuse and equitable action, explains Ashley Farley, a program officer at the Gates Foundation. This shift marks a significant departure from the Foundation's previous open access (OA) policies, which had aligned with the Coalition S initiative, a group of European funders promoting OA publishing. The implications of this policy change are multifaceted. On one hand, the increased availability of research as preprints could democratize access and empower a broader community of researchers and the public to engage with scientific discoveries. However, the lack of formal peer review and the potential for discrepancies between preprint versions and final published articles raise concerns about quality control and the credibility of the research. Whether this will help the open access movement or not, it's hard to know, says Lisa Hinchliffe, a librarian and academic at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. On the one hand, more research will become freely available in preprint form, but the final published versions of articles might become harder to access. The Gates Foundation's decision to cease funding for APCs, a model that has faced increasing criticism for its potential to perpetuate inequities, is particularly noteworthy. As Juan Pablo Alperin, a scholarly communications researcher at Simon Fraser University, explains, stopping support for APCs sends a signal to the larger community, including the community of funders, that this mechanism is not a way forward. The Foundation's plans to invest in alternative OA models, such as Diamond OA, where publishers do not charge fees to authors or readers, as well as preprint servers and other dissemination platforms, suggest a multifaceted approach to addressing the challenges of the current publishing landscape. While the full implications of the Gates Foundation's policy shift remain to be seen, it undoubtedly marks a significant turning point in the ongoing quest for greater openness and equity in scientific communication. As the research community navigates this new landscape, it will be crucial to monitor the impact on the quality, accessibility, and impact of scientific research, as well as the broader ripple effects on the publishing ecosystem. Source: www.nature.com. Slowing tropical forest destruction, progress, yet challenges remain, uncovering the fight to save tropical forests, a crucial battle for biodiversity and climate. In the ever-evolving landscape of environmental conservation, a glimmer of hope has emerged amidst the persistent challenge of tropical forest destruction. A recent analysis of satellite data has revealed that the loss of pristine tropical forests slowed down in 2023, offering a slight respite in the ongoing battle to protect these vital ecosystems. The findings, presented by Michaela Weiser, the director of Global Forest Watch at the World Resources Institute, paint a complex picture. While the overall loss of tropical primary forests declined by 9% compared to 2022, the world is still falling short of the global goal to end deforestation by 2030. This underscores the urgent need for stronger political will, greater international cooperation, and more financial incentives to conserve the remaining forests. The report highlights the crucial role of tropical primary forests in safeguarding biodiversity and mitigating climate change. These natural, mature forests represent some of the most important ecosystems on the planet, serving as havens for countless plant and animal species while also acting as crucial carbon sinks. The slowing of their destruction is, therefore, a significant development, but the persistent high rates of deforestation remain a cause for concern. Delving deeper, the analysis reveals a mixed bag of progress and setbacks across different regions. Brazil and Colombia, for instance, saw a notable decrease in primary forest loss, with reductions of 36% and 49% respectively. This can be attributed to shifts in political leadership, underscoring the pivotal role that governments play in shaping environmental policies. However, this progress was largely offset by increases in tropical primary forest loss in countries like Bolivia, Laos, Nicaragua, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This uneven landscape highlights the complex and multifaceted nature of the deforestation challenge, requiring tailored solutions for each region. Ecologist Dolores Armenteros of the National University of Colombia in Bogotá emphasizes the urgency of the situation, warning that we are running out of time and may be reaching the tipping point of irreversible changes in the tropical forest realm. Her words serve as a stark reminder that the battle to preserve these ecosystems is far from over, and that the global community must redouble its efforts to meet the ambitious 2030 deforestation goal. As the world grapples with the dual challenges of biodiversity loss and climate change, the fate of tropical forests takes center stage. The latest findings offer a glimmer of hope, but also a sobering reminder that much more work lies ahead. The scientific community, policymakers, and the public at large must unite in a concerted effort to safeguard these precious natural wonders, for the sake of our planet and future generations. Source: www.nature.com. Exploring how the precuneus shapes memory quality in recalling real-life experiences, unraveling the mysteries of the mind, how the precuneus shapes episodic recollection. In a groundbreaking study, a team of neuroscientists has shed new light on the intricate workings of the human memory system. By combining advanced brain imaging techniques and sophisticated computational models, they have uncovered the pivotal role played by the precuneus, a region within the medial parietal cortex, in determining the subjective quality of memory retrieval. The researchers tasked participants with actively exploring a virtual town, during which they were presented with a series of objects to remember. The following day, while undergoing functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, the participants were shown images of these objects and asked to report whether they recognized them and could recall the associated spatial and temporal context. A remembered response. The object was familiar but they couldn't remember the context. A familiar response. Or the object was completely new. The study's key finding was that the influence exerted by the precuneus on the medial temporal cortex, which includes the hippocampus and parahippocampus, was the critical factor in determining the subjective quality of the retrieved memories. When participants reported remembering the spatial and temporal details of the encoded episodes, the remembered response, the precuneus exhibited a heightened influence on the medial temporal regions, effectively tagging the successful retrieval of the event and its contextual information. This dynamic interplay between the precuneus and the medial temporal cortex stands in contrast to the intrinsic connectivity patterns observed in the network, where the medial temporal regions typically exerted a stronger driving influence on the precuneus. The researchers propose that this modulation of connectivity reflects a two-phase process of episodic retrieval, an initial search phase, where the medial temporal cortex provides information to the precuneus, followed by a contextual reconstruction phase, where the precuneus guides the medial temporal regions to retrieve the rich spatio-temporal details of the encoded event. The study's findings underscore the importance of considering the brain's functional networks, rather than just isolated regions, when investigating the neural underpinnings of complex cognitive processes like memory. By elucidating the dynamic interplay between the precuneus and the medial temporal cortex, the researchers have taken a significant step towards understanding how the subjective experience of remembering emerges from the brain's intricate architecture. Importantly, the researchers employed a highly naturalistic encoding paradigm, involving active exploration of a virtual town, which allowed them to capture the multifaceted nature of everyday episodic memories. This approach contrasts with previous studies that have relied on simpler, more reductionist stimuli, such as lists of words or static images. The study's findings have broad implications for our understanding of the neural mechanisms underlying memory retrieval, and may ultimately contribute to the development of more effective strategies for enhancing memory performance in both healthy and clinical populations. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of the mind, studies like this one remind us of the remarkable complexity and flexibility of the human brain. Source: www.nature.com. Examining the impact of democratic quality on COVID-19 mortality rates, uncovering the democratic advantage, how quality democracies fared better against COVID-19. As the world grappled with the devastating impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, a crucial question emerged: did a country's political system play a role in determining its success in managing the crisis? A groundbreaking study published in Scientific Reports has shed light on this pressing issue, unveiling a surprising finding: the quality of a country's democracy was strongly linked to its ability to minimize excess mortality during the pandemic's first year. Conducted by a team of renowned researchers, this comprehensive analysis examined the experience of 80 countries across 5 continents. The study used a novel metric, excess mortality, to capture the true toll of the pandemic, going beyond just the officially reported COVID-19 deaths. This approach provided a more complete and accurate picture of the pandemic's impact, accounting for deaths that may have been missed or misclassified. The researchers delved deep into the relationship between democratic quality and pandemic outcomes, exploring not just the overall democracy index, but also its 5 key dimensions: electoral process and pluralism, government functioning, political participation, political culture, and civil liberties. The findings were striking. Countries with higher levels of democratic quality consistently exhibited lower excess mortality rates, with the strongest link observed in the political culture dimension. The higher the democratic quality of the political institutions of a state and particularly of their political culture, the more improved the response and management of the pandemic was in preventing deaths and protecting their citizens more effectively, the authors noted. This is a remarkable departure from the efficient autocracies hypothesis, which had previously suggested that authoritarian regimes might be better equipped to swiftly impose strict measures and curb the spread of the virus. The study's results challenge this notion, underscoring the resilience and responsiveness of well-functioning democracies in the face of global crises. One key factor that emerged was the role of democratic political culture, the degree of legitimacy and trust that citizens place in the democratic institutions and decision-making processes. Countries with a strong democratic culture were better able to rally public support and cooperation, enabling more effective implementation of public health policies. A society with high levels of democratic political culture may be conducive to actively accepting and sharing its government's decisions to combat COVID-19, facilitating successful governance, the researchers explained. The findings also highlighted the importance of other dimensions of democratic quality, such as government functioning, civil liberties, and electoral process and pluralism. These attributes were all linked to lower excess mortality, suggesting that the hallmarks of well-functioning democracies, transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement, can be instrumental in guiding a country through a public health emergency. This study's implications extend beyond the COVID-19 pandemic, as it underscores the wider connection between democratic quality and health outcomes. The authors note that previous research has found robust associations between higher democratic quality and better health indicators, indicating a virtuous circle between democratic institutions and public well-being. As the world continues to grapple with the aftermath of the pandemic, this research serves as a powerful reminder that strengthening the foundations of democracy may be a crucial step in enhancing a country's resilience and ability to safeguard the health and lives of its citizens. The findings challenge the notion that authoritarian efficiency is the answer to global crises, and instead suggest that the principles of good governance and democratic accountability are essential in navigating uncertain times. Source: www.nature.com